The challenge we all have is that the business reality is that if 80% of your marketing is going to people that aren't ready to buy, you sit with the challenge because your business is going to find it difficult to actually grow. The thing that I've seen is that is a vital part of the marketing, is to raise the awareness, but do it in at 20% of the budget, right? Spend 80% of your budget actually targeting people that are in buying mode, and then you stand a much better chance to actually scale and actually get sales immediately.
Hey guys, welcome back to another show. Today I am super excited to interview Dante Botha today, who's the founder and director of Conversion Advantage, an elite Google Ads management agency renowned for driving exceptional results. Dante and the team have over 2 decades of experience in crafting high-impact PPC and CRO strategies for businesses across various industries, including prominent brands like Toyota, Volkswagen, Lecoq, Sportif, Audi, Nissan, and Pet Insurance Australia, to name just a few. His expertise in scaling e-commerce and lead generation businesses sets him apart in the digital marketing landscape. At the heart of his success, though, is a commitment to staying ahead of industry trends and leveraging cutting-edge tools to ensure its clients receive outstanding results. Beyond leading Conversion Advantage, Dante is passionate about mentoring the next generation of digital marketers, and as we've just spent good 35 minutes pre-show talking about rugby and fishing and food and all things, he's also passionate about those, and he regularly shares his knowledge empowering others to excel in the competitive world of online advertising. Dante's hands-on approach and deep understanding of the Google Ads platform make him a trusted advisor to clients seeking to optimize their digital advertising efforts. His leadership has positioned Conversion Advantage as a trusted partner for companies navigating the complexities of digital marketing with a focus on measurable results and client success. Dante continues to lead his agency in delivering top-tier services that help businesses thrive. Dante, mate,
Cheers.
Absolute pleasure to have you on the show today.
Well done, mate. Good to be on the show. We've spoken about, now we're doing it. So it's awesome to be on the show, mate. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, it's good. It's good to have you. And look, you know, we've spoken. We've known each other a couple of years now through a group called Elite Marketers in Australia. We regularly get together with other sort of leading professionals in our field to share and collaborate on these and what's working historically, what's working now, what continues to work, and unpacking those real marketing and growth fundamentals. But I want to take you back to how Conversion Advantage started back in the noughties when we were both much younger men than we are now. You started in 1998, inspired by luminaries such as David Ogilvy and J. Conrad Levinson. Tell me more about that and why did you even sort of get into the reading about these guys?
That's a great question. It's actually the first time I've been asked that, so that I appreciate that. So for me, it was quite interesting. I finished school and I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do, and I had a crack to try a bit of play, a bit of semi-pro rugby. We had a province South Africa called Border, and I played in 21s, and I studied a bit of IT. I got a bursary with that, and in that time, something interesting happened. This is 1998. I was 21 years old. I realized that at the time they were saying computers are actually not going to carry on post 2000, and everyone was concerned that the world's going to crash. Yeah. And my old man sent me to a college at the time that actually specialized in Microsoft education. And Microsoft at the time saw the opportunity where they get their whole Microsoft education centers running globally to get everyone educated in the Microsoft system. So my old man bought the rights to the franchise to do Microsoft education in the town where I lived. And I said to him, well, I would do the marketing for this training education center, and I was 21 years old. And I found myself in a place where I had so many ideas and not knowing what to do, and hungry because we had to enroll enough people into these expensive education courses. And Mark didn't go soft to me. He was actually very hard on me, and we need to enroll a certain amount of people every single month to make this work. And we went from 20 computers to eventually 80 computers, 400 or 500 students. And we then segmented into, corporate education, and we trained Mercedes-Benz, Daimler Chrysler, and all these corporate companies, plus we had a whole student. But in this process, I was so hungry to learn, and I bought as many books as I could, and I found the J. Conrad Levinson's Guerrilla Marketing, and also found his book, the most helpful of them, because all of them had this cause and effect on marketing. There were all these great creative strategies, and they measured the effect of their marketing. And that's exactly what I literally took that And I replicated in the school to advertise the school to get people to sign up. And I would run newspaper ads, follow their principles on how the copy should be written, having a person with their eyes looking at somebody when they come in who's the ideal persona, reflecting that. And we were measuring the amount of phone calls we were getting, the salespeople were getting, and how people were signing up. And I completely fell in love with marketing right there. And then after about 2 years of doing that, I just want to correct
something out there, because I think this is a lot of things that in some ways separates big companies from small ones. And it's really just around measuring that cause and effect sort of thing. If I do this, how much more traffic will it do to my website? And if I do that on my website, how many more things will I get? Inquiries will I get? And that's when we mentioned CRO in the intro. If you don't know what CRO is and you're listening to this and madly trying to Google CRO, we're talking about conversion rate optimization, which means how effective are your assets at converting the traffic into opportunity.
Correct. 100%.
Okay, it's really interesting to see that, because again, in a lot of people don't do any conversion rate optimization. They don't do the measurement of their marketing activities, and therefore kind of wonder whether they're effective or not.
100%. And the thing is, the joy actually lies in finding out what works, and then, taking what doesn't work and doing less of that and doing more of what works. Because as soon as you can know what's working, you'll see the patterns, and then you can scale it. That is and that's how I got into the marketing. So I came in from that. Then I did a postgrad in advertising, which at the time was the top advertising school in South Africa, called AAA. And the interesting thing is that a lot of the great marketing and the thinking was all about branding. And all I could think of is, where's the sales? But it is really important for me to go through that education process, because if we fast track then, years after that, I ended up working at University of McCann as the head of digital. I was at Quantium, which is probably the smartest data company, I think, with all the actuaries they got in. I was as the head of digital. And then Sapien Nitro. But on all three of those experiences, that the thing that each one of them had a different strength, but we would see the creative guys always talking about branding, and we'll see the data guys sometimes get lost in the data. They can spot the problems, but they can't find the solutions. And I think for me that you need the combination of great creativity will, if proven, create great sales, and that's what the guys like David Ogilvy were able to do. That's why they're so good, is because they could measure their creativity. And that is, I think, why if you look at, how the world works now, is that the more you do of that, the better your marketing can do and the better results you can generate.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that, because I recall, when I first started offering advertising as a monetization strategy on the Riot Act, which was the social media platform that I started with a bunch of mates in the late 90s, early noughties, was that, it was the first time ever we could actually measure and say, well, this creative, this image, this this animation, this banner size is more effective than that banner size. And
yes,
and I recall, I was doing towards the end of that period, I was doing some consulting work on the side with another client of mine who was a roofing company, and we'd run, ads for them. And I was sitting in this meeting with them and a rep from the Yellow Pages, right? This is when the Yellow Pages started to get into real trouble with the rise of digital advertising. And they came on and said, oh, well, you don't want to be on that platform because anyone can say anything about you. Well, oh my God, are you coming in here and actually disparaging someone else, another channel, or are you actually kind of putting your own, forward your own thing? And one of the questions I didn't say who I was, right? Because I was there in a consulting capacity. And I said, how do we tell whether it's actually working or not? And they couldn't answer the question about how we could tell whether that particular ad that we were going to put into the Yellow Pages was going to be effective. And there was no opportunity to even split test, right? Because you put it in there for a year, right? You couldn't say, well, shit, I got my creative wrong, or I got my messaging wrong, or maybe if I'd used a sort of half-page ad rather than a quarter-page ad, it would have doubled or tripled my results. But there was no opportunity to kind of do that level of measurement other than I have it or I don't have it.
Correct. And the thing is that I think the other great opportunity is that once you get into that type of thinking, you'll continue testing. Because it's not you get your first one, your second one, third or fourth one, but the whole thing is that that's just the stepping stone to the next test, right? And you get into this place where you continuously evolve, continuously try and do new things, to see what is the most effective, and I think that is for brand marketers, that one of their biggest challenges in a world with fragmented media across the globe, you're finding it more and more difficult to, measure the impact of brand, and I'm not saying to measure the impact of what a research study of 1,000 people will tell you. I'm talking about the impact of sales, from brand to sales. And that is the key thing, that's what pays the bills.
Tell me about this. What's it like being the global advertising manager for RuneScape, which was a very popular, very, very popular game in your 20s? How many free drinks do you get for that?
Mate, I'll tell you an interesting story. I got into it and I never knew how popular this game was until one morning I took my wife out we went for breakfast. I was recently married and there was this kid talking about RuneScape behind us with his parents. And I was like, man, this is a great opportunity to tell them I work for RuneScape, and he's got a good game. And I went over and I said, man, I know you like RuneScape, tell me about it. And his mom had a go at me and she said to me, listen, I dare you, you guys have got this kid to play RuneScape and he's playing for so many hours a week. I'm trying to get him out of the house. He's not doing this, and had a full-on go.
Not working for Fortnite.
And this is obviously before Fortnite. But you know what the interesting thing is that I remember I was working with a guy called Constantino, one of the best guys I've ever worked with, an absolute genius, because there were 300 programmers sitting in Cambridge. Myself, him, and his PA, Donna, were the only three people doing the commercials, right? And we were sitting in London, and they were sitting in some other. I remember the New York Times calling in one day, and then RuneScape had a value of about $450 million. And just to give you context, at the time, YouTube was sold for $1 billion, right? So, and he was like, Dante, do you want to take the call, or should I take it? Because they're calling, and thank God he took the call. But you were sitting with this incredible business, business-wise, which at the time almost was half the price of valued of YouTube. But great experience, it was good. That's obviously before the Fortnites, all that, so good experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go from RuneScape to what brings you out to Australia and the birth of Conversion Advantage.
Good question, mate. So I went through interesting phase because from Henry Tager, who at the time was running University of McCann in Australia, and that it's a global business, got me out to come from London to come to Sydney. And I thought, well, great gig, and really enjoyed. At the time I worked on Microsoft, we had Unilever, we had Australian government, L'Oreal, we had so many fantastic brands under the stable. I think that the media billings at the time was $500 to $600 million a year that they were billing across, was doing the media planning for. And that is sort of like the infancy of digital really getting to the center of the fold where it's always been behind. And that experience, plus then going to Quantium, and later my career at Quantium, which is completely data, and then Sapien Nitro was completely creative, right? The thing I started realizing across all these great agencies is that the whole piece around actually seeing what converts in the sales side of it was missing. We were doing this incredible work, but there was very little proof that anything that we were doing was actually driving an incremental amount of sales. And then I really started missing that. And then the birth of CRO around 2007, 2008, 2009 started happening. And that became a really big interest of mine, because given my previous experience, scientifically testing what works and doing that. And then I got to a stage when I was at Sapien Nitro where I was working for Russia. They were actually our founding client at the time. And we were doing the e-commerce, helping them with the e-commerce marketing. And we got them a massive lift on the e-commerce sales. And I just realized that if we can bring creativity and data, bring it together, let's then create a business called Conversion Advantage. And it'll be focused on getting a business the biggest conversion advantage they could get across their marketing. And obviously bringing the two together was the key thing of combining creativity and data to work together to help grow companies or brands. So that is about 12 years ago. And we started off as a CRO specialist and UX design agency. And within 2 to 3 years, Tim, the interesting thing happened. We sort of lost the path and became a full service digital marketing agency.
So is that just because people asked you to do the extra stuff and said,
yes,
well, you've just gone, sure.
Yeah. So, and I was young and very growth focused, and we did two things. I went to a conference in Chicago and I saw these guys called conversion scientists, and there were 2-3 guys, and they were doing like 80 grand US with 3 staff, and they had clients all over the globe. And I was like, what is this? You can have a global business being there, live in the US, and it's got clients in New Zealand, Australia, all over the world. And I was like, this just made me think, right, well, what if we come back to Sydney, and what if I don't set up a agency in South Africa with the lower costs, and then, pivot into Australian clients, which is what we did. And then the next thing that happened, we went full service digital, because, a lot of clients started asking us to do their Facebook marketing, do websites, and just continue recruiting people. I thought, well, let's go. And that was obviously, the interesting thing with that whole journey is that we went up to 33 to 35 staff, and I sold off the South African agency about 2 years ago. But the interesting thing is that when going into sort of a second bout, decided to go back to Google Ads and CRO, right? Which was a really interesting choice because I looked back at everything that had worked. If we look at any of our clients, any strategy, no matter which client we worked on, right, those are the two things that actually help scale businesses and deliver the results. But they also were 20% of the focus and weren't the biggest budgets. You get that to work and that gives you like a general CPA, and you do all the other stuff, right? It funds all the social media or the content marketing that isn't generating as good as results. So for us,
that's an interesting thing, and I want to we'll get into that sort of flipping your funnel shortly. And again, it comes back to that, I guess, that thing that unless we're doing things like lead attribution and saying, well, where's our business actually coming from? We kind of do a lot of activity that isn't very effective in terms of growing. And it could be anything. I don't care whether you're doing skywriting or letterbox drops or, social media or Google ads. I think one of the things that I've seen social media become very good at as an industry, social media has become very, very good at telling everyone that is marketing, right? And it perpetuates this kind of almost falsehood in terms of the effectiveness of marketing and what marketing themes, what marketing activities that we can do to ultimately achieve the objective of business, which is business growth.
Yes.
Right? We still know that standing on stage and, direct referrals from customers or partners are still one of the best channels. And even for agencies like you and I, most of our business comes via referral, but it's not very predictable. Whereas we know, and it's also not as scalable as say, let's just put another zero in terms of our ad spend, to reach more clients. So where is it? Talk to me about we flip the funnel and put sort of 80% of the effort into 20% of the activities that drive the results, because that's something that I find that business owners don't do sufficiently. And maybe it's because, we're asking business owners to wear too many hats and they don't necessarily come to the table with the experiences that you and I might have as experienced marketers and experienced CMOs and advertisers. Two questions. Why? Firstly, why don't people do it? And then let's get into what does it actually look like in practice when we start to do that analysis and flipping that funnel?
Cool. So I'll tell you something interesting. In the agency days, what is quite interesting is that when you work in a large agency that's doing multi-million dollars of billing, and they got, average client spend of 25 to 30 or $1 million, there's this thing they call where they put the billboard out of the CEO's office, right? And they do that because or at the airport and where the CEO drives, because in his mind, wherever he goes, it looks like that brand is everywhere, right? So you're buying media with the CEOs. That's not really to impress and reach all the people that you're supposed to reach. But if you can impress the CEO to make him think that the brand is everywhere, in his world, right? That's old school thinking, right? And I think that the problem we have, Tim, is that the business owners go with the best education they've got. And the challenge they've got is that...
So you can do that with a $10 a month and a targeted ad spend at a single audience.
It's now changed from billboards to Facebook ads.
Targeting email address and blasting all over Instagram and Facebook.
100%. And what's happened is that I think that business owners see other businesses on Facebook and their first perception is that we need to be out there, right? And there's nothing wrong with that thinking. And so they think that they spend 80% of their budget on social media, content marketing, getting it out there, right? The challenge we all have is that the business reality is that if 80% of your marketing is going to people that aren't ready to buy, you sit with the challenge because your business is going to find it difficult to actually grow. The thing that I've seen is that is a vital part of the marketing is to raise the awareness, but do it in a 20% of the budget, right? Spend 80% of your budget actually targeting people that are in buying mode, and then you stand a much better chance to actually scale and actually get sales immediately. And the key thing is that even with best conversion rates, you are lucky to convert 2 to 3% of people come to your website, right? Like at 5, and I'm talking about that's actually from visit to sale, e-commerce completed sale, right? The top brands convert, and that's new customers, 3 to 5%. Right. And so you still got 95%.
5% is killing it, right?
Absolutely killing it. So you're still going to consider the reality that 95% didn't convert, right? But they've stuck their hand up if they came through Google, which is the bottom of the funnel, which is purchase intent, that they are a lot more warmer and closer to the sales process than somebody that's just seeing your ad on Facebook. So the idea really is to go, well, if we can take the other 95% and put great retargeting strategies around that, right, which is normally a lot cheaper than just doing, direct outreach, you are creating a lot leaner engine or acquisition engine, for customer acquisition. And you're ensuring that the majority of your budget is going to obviously maximizing your market share, right?
Let's talk real quick. And I want to explore purchase intent.
Okay, cool.
What does purchase intent mean? And it's a rhetorical question, obviously, but for our listeners, tell me about purchase intent. How do we identify purchase intent?
good question. So I'm going to use your pest control example, if you don't mind, right? Yeah. So the interesting thing is that we track a lot of it's based on purchase intent, and we actually go. It starts with what person actually searched. So in many marketers, or even brand marketers, and even business owners mind, if somebody had a pest control business and somebody was searching, let's say, the problem of what a pest could cause, so give me an example of what would happen before somebody, what would you say is the biggest?
Seen a rat,
right? Rat in the house, and you would think that targeting those people that saw the rat in the house, right, is going to buy today, right? They are still 2-3 steps before they're going to buy. And what you find is even then you're not right at the bottom of the funnel. Where it starts getting really warmer is when somebody goes pest control company Canberra, and even better, pest control Canberra in your suburb, right? And those search volume is somebody with pest control company right then. And that is the difference between it might work out. I'm just making these numbers.
Rather than just pest control,
yes,
or we going down to pest control company, so I would have thought that even putting price
could be in there.
And obviously split testing between does they get better results or not. But you would think someone's putting a price in there, they're researching the price, as opposed to I'd like to work for a pest control company.
Correct. And when they search competitors' reviews, some of your competitor companies' reviews, you can be coming into the offer. But what you'd find is that, let's say I've just, we've worked in 5 or 6 different, keyword methodologies. The one might convert at $14, other one might convert at $50, other one might convert at $100, right? And that just might be the one looking at the rat. And the one that's pest control company Canberra might be converting at $14. So what we generally find is that there might be 500 searches a month in Canberra for that specific term. And if we know that one converts at $14, right, and we know that, let's say we're searching for a rat pest problem, right, it's converting at $100, what you want to do is, take the majority of your budget then and flick it to first exhaust the 500 that are just going to be going after the pest control company, because you've got your cost per lead on the specific keyword on buy intent. And that's where you learn how powerful buy intent is. So that when we flip the funnel, the first thing we do is identify what keywords convert, right? And the second thing we do is, when we know what converts, we zero in 80% of that budget to maximize and buy as much market share we can off those specific keywords. And when we exhaust that, then we would start working on additional strategies to add on. We still do Facebook, but the role of Facebook is to convert every one of the 95 that didn't convert that day, to retarget them, to bring them back into the sales funnel.
Yeah, because really what we've got, and I think we need to realize as business owners, not just marketers, as business owners, just because someone's searching for your thing that you do doesn't mean to say it's today's problem. This summer, right? It might be a little bit more urgent, or, pain management, that might be a little bit more urgent. But for most of us, we're not in the business of selling something that solves an immediate need, are we?
Listen, 100%. And we have very educated buyers across the globe. And I think one of the things that I get disappointed in when I go to conferences, when people talk of the customers as being, and they go, well, someone just come and search that and they buy. And I'm going, geez, I don't know anyone that does that, because when I speak at a conference and I ask, how many guys been to Google? 99% of people stick up their hands. And I go, who searched a product this week on Google? 99% go. Who has searched 10 like the amount of searches that go through before purchasing is immense, right? You could actually see the amount of engagement you get for a lot of the products that you sell. You can go to actually 5 or 6 interactions before that purchase took place. That's what performance makes so powerful, because it actually can trigger you on, you come in on Google search and you get up with YouTube, Gmail display, later in that process. But the key thing, you're right, not everything is immediate, but what is, I think, important is that once we know what intent they're in, we can serve them more relevant ads through that purchase to bring them back home, get them into what they need to do.
Even there, and coming back to, conversion optimization, which is around, if someone's shown some intent and I've got them on my website now, how do I then convert them to a customer? So I'm going to refer you to Kmart in Australia straight away. Yes. Only because I've got 5 things in my shopping cart on my Kmart. Well, I've still got the browser tab open.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I went straight to Kmart because I was given some gift vouchers to go to Kmart. But I'm kind of just adding things to my shopping cart as I wander around the house and go, probably use that. I might need that, right?
Yeah.
And go looking. But I haven't seen an ad for Kmart retargeting me to say, hey, you've got something in your shopping cart that you haven't finished. Now, they don't have my email address, so they can't email me, but they've certainly pixeled my computer. So is that what we're talking about when we look at optimization? Is that there's some of that 80% spend? It's not just attracting intent-based buyers. It's also, once I've got my intent-based buyer, let's make sure they actually convert.
100%. 100%. And I think the behavior of a return customer and a new customer is completely different. A new customer, technically, you are looking for factors as credibility and how to take the risk out of the sale. So, who's bought there before? What is the returns policy on the website? So you're making sure that all those elements are in there. You're also trying to make the user experience, like mobile page speed, as fast as possible to ensure that that guy has a great experience that actually just warrants him coming back. And then generally, if you get your segmentation right, you can do a rival pop-up, making some form of special offer, 5% discount for your first offer, So with your returning customers, you are, because their current behavior or their behavior, that what they bought last, you can obviously do recommendations, what they can purchase. But all of those elements are in there. The one part of getting the traffic 100% right is just half of the story. I think the second half of the story is, how do you, what is your continuous user experience optimization strategy looking like? And that evolves, right? We're seeing interesting things like, where we would see some of our clients that 60% of their purchase would come through, from mobile devices and 40% desktop. We're sitting a year later, that's sitting on 80-20, right? But the experience of that e-commerce site hasn't evolved at the same pace. Because what that means technically is that your mobile experience needs to be 40% better, because it is going to get, it's on, and there's a difference between something that's responsive and something that's built for mobile first, so that is all part of it. And I think that is literally the opportunities, because if you look at companies like Nike, who have gone with a digital first approach, they have done major amount of work to have an incredible digital experience, that's important. But something like Kmart generally is that we normally look at companies like that, and they've got a lot of customers doing a lot of sales. If you look at the e-commerce sales versus their store sales, it'll be an interesting number, but I would suspect and I would guess that it's not the number one strategy.
The store is just the shopping, it's the catalog.
Correct. So they would have other priorities. It's almost like too big to fail, where if you found, a hungry, wanting to scale, wanting to list company director, they'd be all over this, but when you get to a certain stage, there's an immense amount of opportunity with that type of stuff.
One thing I've seen you talk about before that flies in the face of the industry from an SEO perspective, and even from a Google ad perspective, is this kind of obsession with being number one first page in Google. Talk to me about that. Why is that a thing? And is it the right strategy to pursue for a business?
Yeah, very good question, Tim. So here's the key thing. If you got your 4 paid listings at the top, and then you got your organic listings, the top 3. Yeah. The whole performance max play has, to a certain degree, your bottom of the funnel keywords are starting to dilute the amount of traffic you would get. So for instance, if we were getting 50%, for some of our brands, we're getting 40-50% of our sales 3-4 years ago from SEO ranking for certain terms, that might be dropping out at 25 to 30%. I'm talking about the high intent keywords, because some of those clicks to Google is worth $15, $20, $30, $40 a click, right? So they bring in so many ads above that, especially from mobile experience. But the key thing is, it's not necessary to be, I would say, be the number one position. You want to be in one of the top 4 positions. And that is one of the other strategies we sort of always leverage for a lot of our clients, is that we don't want to be number one. Number one generally pays too much to be number one, right? You are overpaying, and it's like, and they bottle out. No one can afford generally, in a high volume search, to be number one all the time. They're paying the most and they're at the top, and that extra additional what you're paying for the traffic is too much. But if you're in the top 4 with a great ad, with a great offer, you could be running, on that ad rotation for the entire day, right? And we're getting double the traffic versus getting less traffic at a much higher cost, being number one. So our focus would be that if you're in the top 4, you're in great space. If you're appearing below the top 4, you're sort of putting yourself out of the market demand on the keywords that are converting. And that means there's less opportunity for you to get more sales or increase your business.
Yeah, it'd be like appearing on page 2 of the Google search, right? You get on page 2, you're going to miss most of it.
Is there page 2? I'm joking. It feels like 20 years
ago. It seems to be like a continuous scroll, but if you're down 2-minute scrolls, you won't be seen at all, right? Yeah. Certainly if you're on page 20, you're not being seen by anybody, particularly for that keyword. So do you think it's possible to have or identify purchase intent with other strategies other than paid advertising? And we're talking specifically Google and probably Bing and stuff like that, where someone's actually typing in a
Yes.
here it is, as opposed to what we see on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, which is more interrupt marketing. You're just going, here's my demographic. I think you're in the right space, so I'm going to chuck something in front of you and hope that you stop.
So if you want the legal answer or the speaking of,
Let's go the opinion answer rather than
I want to go put an opinion.
Yeah.
So the next 5 to 10 years, what will happen in our space, Tim, is that the advertising cake globally is so big, and the only way TikTok, LinkedIn, Meta and Google, Bing, all these platforms can survive because they're all competing against each other for the same spend, right?
Yeah.
And the person or the company that provides the best buyers are the ones that will make the most money. It's literally as simple as that. Now, for them to be able to do that, they need to get as much data on their end to know whether somebody is close to that purchase cycle or not. And the better they can interpret that, the better value they can provide to advertisers. So if you look at what's happening with the AI that's sitting behind, and you look at the AI these companies are using at the moment, they will be getting much better at providing better value for customers, because if they don't, they will lose out to their competitor media brands where people are spending time. So the best companies are the ones going to get best at that. So where we see what will happen, over the next 5 years is that there needs to be a major facelift in your creativity and how you actually create your advertising experience. And the better your advertising experience is, the easier you're going to graduate somebody from being, part interested into actually a sale, because all the tools are to your favor, right? But if your creativity and the sequence of your messaging is out of line, you'll be struggling to compete against guys that are trying to figure that every single day, that are testing multiple ads or multiple content to see what is working, what's not working. So my opinion is that it is possible, but the challenge is you always have to ask yourself, the platforms where you are, how do they pay their bills? And they can't do without revenue. So for them to run those platforms, you need to go think, right, well, content's going to be important. Great content is going to be imperative. We might get to a stage where it'll be cheaper to promote content, great value-added content, because we know what the sales cycle is to get somebody to convert than it is to convert somebody at the bottom of the sales funnel, because we know what their first problem might be. So for instance, the example of the rat early on that you mentioned, if we are creating content that is on Facebook, and Facebook is to a stage where people are, publicly talking about having rats in the house and who can help, right? And somehow your content is appearing there, and then you take them to assist them on the different stages to your pest control company in your area. That's where I believe we're headed to. So it'll be, and all of that is under the fundamental thing that's below all of that is user experience. The better our advertising user experience will be, the more successful we'll be. What will happen though is that the companies that don't focus on this, there'll be a big difference. The front runners that are obsessed about creating these great experiences with great systems, and the ones that are just in there because they got a ticket because it's easy to set up an ad. There'll be a big difference.
Yeah, so true. So true. That takes me to, I guess, an area that we always do in the show, which is a little quick fire.
Okay.
Let's start with who's going to win the rugby championship this year.
But at this stage, I would think that it won't be Argentina. I think at this stage, my guess is that I think, and I say this humbly, I hope it'll be South Africa over the weekend. I do have a silent prediction, is that I will not. I'm going up to support the Wallabies against the All Blacks, and I think it's 20th of September, mate. And if the Wallabies beat Argentina this weekend, they will beat the All Blacks in Sydney in 2 weeks' time. That's my prediction. That's what I'm hoping for. So let's see what happens.
If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you do?
Mate, I actually don't know. I love what I do now. I think in somewhere, if I wasn't doing this, I would either be a rugby coach, professional rugby coach, I think, because I just love the stats part of the game, and the human and everything it is about the battle and winning it. I enjoy that. Or I'd be doing something super creative in being in Hollywood with movies and being part of movies and creating stuff. So those would be the two other things that are
Professional stunt man.
Yeah, well, there we go. Yes.
Mate, look, marketing space is chock full of people who have hung a shingle and said, I'm a Google Ads expert, and they may have got their Google Ads qualifications out of a cornflakes packet. How does someone tell the difference between a good ad agency and one that will get the results if they commit enough, but probably not the right fit?
Automation. That is the quick answer, is that anyone can do a qualification on Google Ads, or any of the, the social programs. But the challenge you've got is that the more automation is great when it's given a taskmaster where to go. What you will generally find is that the inexperienced specialists or guys that are sort of new in the game would always talk about, we can't do better than Google. Google's always better. Google's always this. Google's always that. And the reason they say that is that because they've just got an automated strategy and just uploaded stuff and told them that Google did. In reality, the difference between the specialists, the guys that really live and breathe this time, 50% of the conversation will be CRO based. So how do you drive conversions after you've gotten the click, and having really a strategy, because that'll show that they have done a lot of work, because it's getting the traffic. There's 50% of the story. The other 50% is to ensure that you are converting that click. But in the Google Ads space, I think the biggest thing is case studies, and looking for relevant case studies that are relevant to your business, because the likelihood of somebody, let's say if they've scaled an insurance company, right, and they've got the data and it's a reputable insurance company and they can show you what they've done, that's different. So my advice to any clients who are in the space, that get the case studies that are relevant to your business to make sure that they're the right fit, and beware of the guys that are going to charge you $500 a month, because sometimes paying somebody $500 a month and losing 20 grand a month on your ads is one scenario, where sometimes you pay somebody 15 grand a month, but they make you $500,000 a month. You need to decide which one of the two you want to be in. And generally the ones that do where they make a lot of money for clients are the ones the results will speak for themselves.
So it's not cheaper is not necessarily better when it comes to management fee.
But I've actually thought of getting one of the girls in my team to become a psychologist, because we've been fortunate to get a lot of client referrals, and then clients come and see us and they go, we've been referred by so-and-so, they heard you speak here, or we were referred by a client of yours, and we always welcome anyone in to have a conversation. And they go, but I've been burned 5-6 times, and I go, I am so bitterly sorry that this happened to you, and I wish it never did happen to you. And some of them, it might go for like 2-3 days of hearing how badly they were burned. And then I have to get a stage scale, and I'm really sorry, but that wasn't us. And there's a lot of businesses that are actually still making a lot of money online if you get the right guys on the floor. But one of the key things is that what you pay for is what you get in the professional space. It's very similar to like a knee surgeon or a doctor, and if you're going to go for the cheapest knee surgeon in the country, it's probably different to the one that's the most reputable, and all the sports stars go to, because he's got a reputation of actually delivering the best results and passionate about it, and he's a leader. He's always innovating. He's not just standing still. It's not just a job, So for me, I think what's happened is that we've had a lot of people, just get into the industry, and unfortunately there has been this pain. But I think what it can do, for a lot of clients out there, is to actually go, well, take a step back and see how long people have been in, and really work on not just looking at the price, but actually look at the value they're going to get in return.
How did you meet your wife?
Mate, I met her at Hillsong in London in 2004, and which was crazy. Well, I've never been asked that either at a podcast, but yeah, I went to a church service there, and I met her, and then they had this function at Starbucks, which I met her and asked her. She wanted to sit down, so I gave her a chair, and she didn't say thank you, and I was like, geez, well, that's not very friendly, but thank God she 2 or 3 weeks later she came around, and we went from there. But yeah, so that was in London.
Nice, man. Nice. How big's your team, and what are your secrets to having a successful one?
Mate, that is 2 very good questions. So the Australian team's got 4 people. The South African team, which is owned by who bought the South African business from me, I think they're on 12, and we 4 in Oz. When we flipped the model, the 80-20, one of the key things we did 2 years ago, when we did do this for Google Ads and CRO, we made a decision that we wanted to be around 20 to 30 clients and purely focus on clients and client service and building relations with great people to build great businesses, versus the older model where I've been in the past where we had 30 to 40 staff one stage, where we had incredible amount of clients and incredible amount of chaotic trying to manage everything. We've actually taken a step back this year, the last 2 years, and going, we'll grow it organically, we'll grow with referrals, which we have, and I think we're on 18 clients now, and we are we still, our number one source is referrals across our clients, which we're grateful for. But the core of actually what we've done is to take an inside out approach. And our number one focus is getting great results. And when we do that with, then we actually stay the course, and we are, so basically we flip the model to actually go, well, we need to flip the model ourselves. If we want to be in this, for the long run, we need to be so passionate about the craft that we actually outperform, get the best results we possibly get for any of our clients. And if we do that, then we are likely to run out this red ocean of activity where people are getting, with inexperienced specialists that are obviously that's just they're still probably trying to feed their families in it, but actually generating results that are subpar, and burning people. So we've gone the opposite.
Yeah, love it. What's one initiative on your whiteboard that you're super excited about that wasn't there 30 days ago?
You asked the best questions I've ever had. So there's actually two. So the first one is that I love reading, and as I mentioned to you, but Alan Dibbs is, you got one page marketing plan. He's lean book, and then you've also got Donald Miller, Story Brand, and he's got Marketing Made Simple, Business Made Simple. And then what I've started doing is that, and it's the interesting thing, is that a lot of these guys have got great formulas. They've got great, and taking those formulas and putting them into AI to take the frameworks they've put in place and using AI to create frameworks for my clients. And that is one of the things that, and I've been amazed with what's come back, because it's shortened the process. It's taking great frameworks and actually getting the power of AI to give us instant content around that, and allows us to actually find differentiation strategies quite quickly. So that's the one thing. The second thing is we are looking to beef up our testing to accelerate. We do a lot of A/B testing, but we want to take that to the next level by probably tripling, 3 to 4 times, adding more testing across everything we do across landing pages. Out of that, we are planning to bring blueprints out, which are proven UX blueprints with, proven UX layouts that convert, which we can, use obviously if the clients come on board, and also that we can at one stage think of creating digital products for which we can share with the rest of the industry, which they can use off the back to, do better marketing.
Yeah, let's do this. What's one tool that is indispensable for your job? One productivity tool that's indispensable for you?
Oh, one tool that's indispensable for me. You won't actually, you look at probably the most random answer to this. If you ask me, I mean, Instapage is fantastic because obviously it allows us to do all these testing things. But the tool that I think, and it's not specifically a tool, is that with all the great platforms and plugins and everything that we've got, we're still finding having a Google Sheet that is updated 10 or 50 different data sources, data into one summary sheet is still our biggest asset, just because there isn't one platform that we found or tool that can do all of it. Maybe there will be one day. So we're still finding the power of G Suite and everyone being interactive and being into be able to participate in a data process being our biggest asset. But I'm actually quite open because we test so many tools. And if I had to tell you the one tools we've tested, I mean, we've tested TrueClicks. We have tested, this is the last month I can go to. We probably spend a couple of $1,000s, I don't know, all the time testing new tools. But what we've learned is that the limitations, some of the tools that they can only do a bit of the process. You still need something that can be overarching, that holds it all together. That's why that holding together tool, whatever platform you're putting, is probably your most vital thing, because that is sort of your dashboard to consolidate, let's say, Shopify purchase data, Google Ads data, Facebook Ads data, on the key metrics on what's working and not working. So
yeah, awesome, mate. Lastly, and I've just forgotten the question I was about to ask you.
No.
So let's go with this. We'll chop this little bit out.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely, go for it.
Who do you think is going to win between South Africa and New Zealand this weekend? And what's your score?
I think I'm going to go with New Zealand.
Okay.
I think they'll win by 6.
6. I like it.
I like New Zealand.
Mate. Well, I think every New Zealander on the podcast will be shouting for joy, mate. And it's going to be a cracker.
It will be a good one. We'll watch it. We'll watch it remotely together at the same time and cheer everybody on for a good game. Dante, thanks so much for joining us on today's show. Guys, if you're interested in connecting with Dante and learning more about what Conversion Advantage can do for your business, head on over to conversionadvantage.com.au. Reach out to Dante, through there or through social media, and links for that stuff will be in the show notes as well. Thanks again, mate. Really appreciate you sharing your expertise and your insights.
Huge pleasure, mate. Fantastic to be in the show, and thank you for the great questions, mate. They were super. Thanks so much.
Guys, thanks again for joining us on today's show. More clients, less effort. Obviously, some absolute gems and information there. If you're doing Google Ads or thinking of doing Google Ads, look at that 80-20 and work out, and particularly work out what's the traffic doing once it gets to you, right? Because that's where the real gold is. If you've liked today's show, like, share, comment, all those usual stuff, and we'll catch you on another episode real soon.